Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Empire State of Baseball. This is episode number 53, July 17th of the year 2023. Well, gentlemen, we're here returning after our own version of the All-Star break. Took a break last week we were on the show, but it was an earlier show. Back to our normal time slot.
We got an hour back from last week, considering we had the 7 o'clock start time. So in essence, it was kind of a break.
Correct. Back to a break from our normal slot, but we are back today, 8 p.m. EST. Joe, we're right here after the All-Star break, the unofficial halfway point of the season. How are you feeling on this fine Monday afternoon?
Well, you know what? Feeling a little bit more destined to the fate that I think we know is coming, which is the Mets being sellers at the deadline. They needed to come in and basically take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, was your hopeful scenario, and then go on to sweep the White Sox, and they didn't do that. They lost 2 in a row right out of the break. They won just a scrambling game yesterday, and I think we're headed for a long dog days of summer with the New York Mets.
But this could be fun.
I couldn't agree more.
This opens up opportunity, and we're going to talk about in a little bit of who they could possibly move. You have a few players that are coming out of contract at the end of the year. You have a few players that are still under contract for the next couple of years that could still be intriguing assets towards team. Now, Tom, on the Yankee side of it, and we're going to get more into it in the Empire Express. How you feeling? I know it's been not good for the Yankee side. Really terrible loss for the Yankees. That might have been that probably was the worst loss of the season, I would think, yesterday.
Yeah, I'll be honest. By the end of that loss, I was numb to it because I felt like they lost 2 or 3 times already throughout the game. It was like, oh, well, this is over, and they come back, and then they I don't know. It was a tough one to watch. They don't hit, then they hit all at the same time at the end. It can't be enough, and then it felt like inevitable. It was like watching a slow car crash with Ramirez and then Marinaccio coming in and just giving it up at the end. Sad. It's sad. And the Yankees are going to get into the trade deadline tonight. It's the question of even like, what do they do? We're going to go over, I'm guessing mostly some buying moves by the Yankees. But I mean, listen, the way the next 2 weeks can go, they could be right there with the Mets, and they could show they should, if they have a really horrible 2 weeks, they probably should be selling. Will they? That's a conversation I'm sure we'll have later. So it's a weird spot.
And it's a conversation we will have later on tonight, big trade deadline segment. But Khoury, Faz, I know you got the rest of the lineup here. What we got going on for tonight's show?
Yeah, I mean, we got a big show. We're going to start off first with the Empire Express and really dive into the current state of the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. And for both of them, not a great weekend. More to come on that in a moment. We have a fun segment, the core curriculum, one of our games. This is a recurring game where our guest, Andrew Khoury, comes on, tries to stump us with some trivia. So looking forward to that at the halfway mark. And then the second half of the show, like we alluded to, MLB trade deadline. We're going to talk Mets and Yankees, possible mock trades. Again, whether or not these are trades that actually may happen, TBD, probably not. But trying to build trades that kind of make sense for both teams. So more to come on that in a moment. But again, as we said, Empire Express to start the show, current affairs of the Mets and Yankees. We were just talking about earlier. Mets dropped the series to the Dodgers by a final series score of 2-1. And the game they won yesterday, no business winning. That was a game that they did everything to lose the game, but somehow held on. Yankees, basically the same thing, except they lost to a worser team, losing to the Rockies, losing that series 2-1. Looking at the current schedule coming up, Mets are off today. They do got 3 against the lowly White Sox. They got 3 against Boston. Yankees got 3 versus the Angels. Then an off day followed by a weekend set versus the lowly Royals. So both teams, you look at this upcoming schedule, they do have a chance maybe to win both series, maybe get a little positive momentum. But you're looking at these standings right now. Mets 7 games under 500. 1-5 in their last 6. 1-5 in their last 6. That's after they kind of sucked us back in with that nice 5-game winning streak. We were saying, all right, is the Mets going to start to rally back? Is this where they make the momentum? And what happens? And the momentum reverses and shoots them in the foot, dropping 5 of their last 6 games. I mean, Joe, extremely frustrating. And It seems like day in, day out, it's something different, whether it's the pitching, whether it's the bats. But really, over the last few days, it's been more of the bats that's been the issue over the pitching.
Yeah, I mean that's the frustrating thing is aside from Verlander, who I mean I don't know what's going on. You had 6 or 7 walks the other day. Aside from Verlander, the pitching's been actually pretty good the last few days. Senga pitched very well. Scherzer pitched basically like the Scherzer of old yesterday, and the problem's been the bats. They've scored. The Mets have scored what 2 runs yesterday, 1 run the day before. They've scored almost nothing since the break. And listen, this happens a lot. We just saw what happened to the Reds. The Reds got swept by the Brewers. I think they set what or close to the record for strikeouts in a series with 50.
They had a record, I think, of like the least amount of like runs and hits in like a 3-game series or something. Like they had like 8 hits for like 3 games and no run. That was bad.
Right. So I mean, offenses come sluggish out of the break depending on where everybody's gone. But the Mets can't afford this. The bottom line is the Mets now need to win at least 6 in a row to have a chance going into the last week, heading into the trade deadline. And the idea of getting to 500 by trade deadline weekend is starting to fade. I mean, they cannot afford to drop 1 game to the White Sox, and that's going to be what ends up sealing their fate. I mean, if they drop this series, it's over.
Listen, I think if you're a Met fan, I know this is going to come off really pessimistic as a Yankee fan saying it, but like you're better off just being bad for the next 2 weeks and not leaving the front office with well, maybe we stand pat, maybe we buy it. It does seem that it's not going in the right direction, and if they really goes in the wrong direction, you're going to get rid of some of those guys on expiring contracts and hopefully rebuild that farm system. Is something that we've talked about on this show for so long. The Mets farm system could desperately use just some prospects coming from other organizations, build themselves up to really become the threat that they seemed like they were for a while. But we know it's a little bit of fool's gold because there was the foundation of it wasn't set.
Is there any chance this team could become buyers at some point? What kind of percentage of winning do they have to, get on top of to get them back into the right state? I mean, you look at the games behind in both the East. I mean, the East is lost. I mean, forget about that. But 8.5 back in the NL wild card on July 17, 2023. Is there maybe a potential look at, all right, how can we start building our 2024 team? Is there a chance that the Mets could make any kind of deal where it could still help them in the future with major league level talent?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that chance to do what they did when they acquired Stroman and players of that nature, where you're acquiring a player with a year of control, knowing that they're going to be there next year, that they are the replacement for an outgoing guy. They could probably, what's a good probably candidate to do that with somebody like the White Sox. They have an excess of young, controllable talent that just isn't fitting in there. Maybe an Eloy Jimenez, even though he's injury prone, is an idea that you can go out and get and say, okay, he's going to be Canna's replacement next year. We're still going to sell off guys like Canna and Pham and Ottavino and Robertson. Not that anybody would want Ottavino, but put us in a position where we don't have to go out and spend $100 million in free agency again. We have a couple of pieces we brought in. Now it's just getting them to play together as a team.
Yeah. No, I think
that Stroman reference was perfect, but go ahead, Khoury.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I mean, there's 0% shot this team is doing something like they did in 2021, and that's selling a prospect, now a very high prospect in Major League Baseball, for a true rental player. So that's completely out the window. The only way this team makes a deal is basically like we were just saying, is that they're going to get a player in here that could help the team next year. I personally really like the idea of Jimenez. I think that's a great fit for the team, give you a little pop, a righty bat for that order. You don't have Alonso's only. It's going to cost a bit, but
that's a lot.
Both teams could use a shakeup, though. Both teams. I mean, the White Sox just a year or two ago were one of the hot picks. The White Sox in the AL this year kind of remind me of the Padres this year, where the White Sox a year or two back were the hot name, and they did not live up to that hype. Padres this year not living up to the hype, so very similar from that aspect. But I think with the Mets right now, if they could make a trade that helps them next year, I'm not opposed to it, but I think it's more likely we might see them sell off these one-year deal guys like the Cannas, like the Phams, like the Robertsons, the Ottavinos, and you're not going to get top 5 prospects for these guys. Robertson, you might get a pretty good deal for. But you're going to get guys, even if they're the 10th, 11th, 12th ranked prospect in the other organization, you're building your depth and helping your team for the future. That has no impact on the payroll next year because these are expiring deals. So kind of status quo going into next offseason, but it does give you a little more ammunition. Maybe if you do another trade in the offseason, now you have a few more pieces you could actually trade off.
Jimenez is going to cost you most of that farm system right now, though. He's going to cost you some top guys, some guys that I know Mets fans won't want to part with, especially with someone who is injury prone, but we know what's on the field is a top 10 guy in baseball if he's actually healthy. It's gonna be an interesting dilemma for the Mets, I think, in a trade like that. I think they're better off just trying to build up the farm.
Now, Khoury, you mentioned offseason in your monologue right there, and Tom, of course, jumping in there with building up your 2024 team. I did read a note earlier today where maybe the Mets are starting to have that eye towards the future, and that future could be Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's going to be posted at the end of the year. That's my best attempt at the name, and I'm probably right. So Yamamoto, a potential eye for that, but again, you're looking at an organization that are all-stars in the offseason. But when it comes to this time of the year, and it's unfortunate because they might not be on the buying side of things, that they don't know what they're doing when they're pressed against the clock. So it'll be interesting to see come the offseason if Yamamoto finds himself in Queens. But Joe, Khoury, real quick on that note from early today, the Mets sending a scout to go check out Yamamoto.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Billy Epler is the guy as far as signing Japanese stars. He's the one who signed Ohtani. He is the one who signed Senga. So the last few guys, except for Suzuki, which I don't think the Mets were in on at the time, these Japanese pitchers seem to have a rapport with Billy Epler. Epler seems to know how to communicate effectively with Japan and with the agents over there. So, and this goes again into the Ohtani thing. We're going to discuss it later at length. I just don't think you're going to be able to count Epler out when it comes to any Japanese star, because it just seems that he understands what it takes to close a deal with a star from that country. And he's put in the effort, not only for Yamamoto, who's coming over, but you got 2 or 3 guys over there that are coming over in the next few years. The slugger's name escapes me, and you got the young pitcher who dominated in the WBC. So him showing his face.
Are you talking about Masataka Murakami?
Yes, Murakami's the hitter, right? And
that is correct. The corner.
And who's the 21-year-old pitcher that dominated in the WBC?
Sasaki. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
Something like that. Through 100 miles an hour, where nasty splitter. These are the envoy missions, if you will, that Epler is going on, and he knows he's building up a base for later when these guys all post. He knows that he's going to be in the running for them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, wouldn't it be something? I don't think this is going to happen. This is not a bold prediction by my part. But imagine you go out there now next offseason, you do the 3-headed monster already with Senga, and you go out and get Yamamoto and Ohtani, and you start to get some sort of 3-headed monster out there in the rotation with these Japanese imports. And Senga right now, he's the ace of this staff with his current numbers. He's having the best season of all the guys. Yamamoto is better than Senga. So if you're bringing him on too, that's a nice 1-2 punch. And you had Ohtani in that mix. Again, I don't think this is going to happen, but you could dream. You got to dream right now. That's all you could do right now if you're a Mets fan is dream. But that would be something really cool. I think that would be great for baseball, actually, to have that type of trio. That would be something.
I want to get the pronunciations down right, or else I'm not going to go to sleep at night. It's Munetaka Murakami. He's the third baseman, left-handed hitter. A lot of talk of that the Yankees actually might have
He'd be
hand in trying to sign him in a couple of years. And then the pitcher is Roki Sasaki. So there you go.
Okay.
All right. Now for the Yanks side, and real quick, and I know we're going to get a lot more into the Yankees side of the house with our trade deadline predictions here, Thomas. But obviously, Yanks, it's not good. They lost the weekend series to the Rockies. They've lost they've won 2 of their last 8 games. Currently 9 back in the AL East, which is almost a miracle. You'd have thought they'd be 20 back by now, but that's how bad the Rays have played over the last few weeks. And 2 games out of the AL wild card. So for a lot of for the fan base, they are hoping that the Yankees can still make a run at that wild card spot and still be a team worth contending. But Thomas, this team's a joke. This team ain't no World Series team. This isn't a team that you build for the trade deadline so you can make those couple of moves that'll get you into the World Series. This is a team that's going to barely scratch out a win in round 1 this year, if they're lucky.
Yeah, I mean that is all accurate, and the big elephant in the room, or the elephant not in the room, is Aaron Judge, the big man. Without him on the team, they are that different. Now, when does he come back? We're still a little unsure. They had video or pictures loose of him taking going against Nestor in a sim game today. So
it was AI. It was an AI. It wasn't actually Judge.
Okay,
you didn't hear from me.
Sure. Okay. Anyway, so so he looks like he's kind of working his way back. You would think he'd be back by the deadline at this point. He's going to have a couple of rehab games. I'm sure he's been out for so long. What impact does that have? I know like the lame thing, if you ever hear a guy like Cashman talk, like in an interview, he'll say like, well, the biggest trade deadline acquisition we're going to make is Aaron Judge and Nestor Cortez. And like that, I hate those statements. It is partially true, at least, though. Getting Judge back is going to be a huge difference maker, but that's not going to be enough for this team. If they want to contend, they need to add more, but they might not be able to add what they need.
No, and you don't know what Aaron Judge comes back. Do you get the Aaron Judge of, before he went down with his injury? Maybe. But are you going to get that Aaron Judge? Probably not. It's probably going to take him a while to kind of get back to it. I mean, we're talking, it's a toe. But it's his big toe on his pivot foot when he swings and when he fields. When he comes back, he's going to be the designated hitter of this team that forces Stan into the outfield permanently, which he's already kind of, he's already fixed to play that position.
He's been doing it for like 10 games now.
Yes, he's been doing it for a few games now. But that's going to be your reality. Your defense takes a hit. You have Judge. You don't know what kind of Judge is going to come back, if that. Like I said, with this team, I just don't see this team going far into the playoffs. If they get to the playoffs at all, for Judge's sake, it might be best if he just calls it a season, doesn't come back. And I think
if you're the captain of the team, you can't do that. You can't just call it a
but he's still in the dugout. It's not like he's gone home and
but that's you can't be given the captaincy, the first captain since Jeter, and say like, listen, this team doesn't have it.
Okay, so I broke my leg. I'm the captain. I got to come back on the field.
He didn't break his leg though. I'm not telling the guy to go out there in in a neck brace.
Ligament in his foot. That's not a minor injury.
It's not a minor injury, but once he's healthy,
he's enough to play, he's going to play.
Listen, if he's not back by September and you're at least 7 games out of a wild card spot, which I don't think they're going to be that far back.
If it's September, I'll give you that, but he took batting practice on the field the other day, and he went against Nestor in a sim game today. So that if it's still over 6 weeks,
AI.
Was it actually AI, or I don't know if you guys are messing with me.
I thought we just talked about this. I thought that was.
I don't believe Rich. I don't think I don't even know what to believe. Whatever. Either way, he took BP the other day. If he's 6 weeks away, then that's I'll sign on to that. But it looks like he's trending to be back in the next few weeks.
Are the Yankees fixable? Is the question. And the Yankees are fixable if you are willing to go to all extremes to fix them, and assuming Judge is coming back. If you add a guy like Juan Soto in the heart of that order and Judge comes back in 2 weeks, that's a fixed team, right there. If you can go there, but you're going to lose most of your prospects. You're going to hold. You're going to keep one of Volpe and Peraza. And everybody, Wells goes, Dominguez goes. These guys are all gone after that. So the question becomes, and then the Yankees are a powerhouse, but the question becomes, the Yankees have to look inside and say, okay, we are within striking distance at the moment, but how much are we willing to give up to put ourselves back in the conversation of being the Yankees? I don't know. Based on the recent history, the Yankee, can't remember a massive trade that the Yankees have been in in some time.
Listen,
when was the last time the Yankees made a wholesale monster trade?
Stanton, probably. I mean, that wasn't at the deadline.
Even then, they gave up nothing for him. They gave up Starlin Castro.
Oh, they took the contract. The Marlins couldn't afford the contract. The X factor in all this, though, is the Yankees don't sell. That's just not what they do. They're not a team that sells. They did sell in 2016. I realize that. That's the one time in our lifetimes the Yankees have sold. Every other year, they buy. That's what they do. They're not an organization. They're too prideful to do it. And yeah, would it be better for the next 5 years of the Yankees if they sold off some pieces right now? Yes, it would, but they're not going to do it. And I don't think there's a point of even discussing it. That's not how they operate. They operate to win, enough. Maybe not to go all in, because they could and they really should be able to contend more with the resources they have to go all in to win. But they're going to go in enough to win. They're not going to just wave the white flag unless they go 2-10 in the next 12. They're buying something.
Yeah, and I think this team right now with the Yankees, I mean, I love that Soto idea, Joe. I really do, because if you're bringing Soto into that team and then Judge is coming back, I mean, that lineup, if you're going into the playoffs back to back with Judge, Soto, and Stanton, I mean, that is some middle of the order you'd have right there. And I think with this team, I think is not going to sell. I don't think they're going to sell the Yankees, but I think what they're going to end up doing is making those small moves that really doesn't move the needle much. It might help a little bit. Yes, it's going to be that level type move.
The problem is the Yankees can't afford to do that this time around. The hitters around the rest of the team are not good enough. They are not. These hitters are not basically professional hitters. Rizzo hasn't hit a home run since May. I mean, that's insane. It's crazy.
You want to talk about
he's supposed to be a second best hitter or third best hitter. They need professional bats. You can't bring in a Randall Grichuk or one of these marginal players and expect that to make any difference. You need a star, and you need a massive bat in the heart of that order that isn't going to disappear, because they have enough of those bats already. You need that bat that's going to energize the guys around him, and that's what Judge is. Judge makes Rizzo better because nobody wants to pitch to Judge, and then Rizzo's getting pitches that Judge that they don't want to throw to Judge.
Correct.
Now without him, they're not pitching. I
still question. We're going to get into it later, but I still question that, because it seems like if Judge ain't back, you get Soto. He's just a big Band-Aid for Judge. And the Yankees are, at best, the marginally good team they were when Judge was healthy, when it was still reliant on one big player to do most of the damage. I just don't see the team still being as successful. They have too many holes to fill, and I just don't think they have enough moves to make it.
If they go after a guy like Soto or Ohtani or something like that, that indicates to me that they think Judge is going to be back. I actually think if they stand pat and do nothing, they are very nervous that Judge isn't coming back in a timely manner for them to buy.
I actually think the opposite, Joe. I think the opposite. I think Soto or Ohtani is the perfect bandage for fans to say, all right, Judge has lost to the season, but we just got you Soto or Ohtani. Now I don't think
they would just do a
not Ohtani.
They're not going to do a PR move to bring in Soto or Ohtani. That's going to cost you so much out of your organization. You know, that's not. I don't think they would do that. I do kind of side with Joe there. If they make a big move, it's because they think Judge, or they know Judge will be back and he'll be close to full capacity going into into September.
Ohtani, there's no shot you bring him in if you know Judge isn't coming back, because he's a rental, and the Yankees are banking on the fact that he's going to fall in love with New York and that their offer will be enough, that he's going to enjoy being the biggest star for the biggest team in the world. If you bring in Soto, you at least have that extra year of control. So yes, I can see what Rich is saying there, but at this particular point, I don't think they go and sell the farm for Soto if they don't think Judge is coming back. But I can see that a little bit more with Soto, but Ohtani, absolutely not. The only way they bring Ohtani in is if they know Judge is coming back within the week, is basically my idea.
We'll get into the mocks later on tonight. Before we get there, we do have a fun trivia segment coming up that's called Core Curriculum. Tom, if you go to Instagram, I know you can find the core curriculum questions that we had over the last few weeks up on there. But what else is up on our Instagram?
Sure can. All kinds of stuff on the Instagram. We have our post-game recaps. We have the games at the core curriculum. We also have our games like Guess the Graph. We have Chooch's Pick of the Week up on our Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of fun things. Whenever we do tournaments or we do brackets, we post those. We have voting on our stories on Instagram. So make sure you give us a follow there at Empire State of Baseball. Follow us individually at Khoury Favs, at JR Pugs, at Rich J Rivera, and T Wospil again on Instagram. And yeah, interact with us there, get involved in the conversation.
That's it. And of course, our NYSC, our New York Strike Exchange, is also posted on Instagram first and then Twitter every Friday. Last week was on Mondays just because of the weird end of the first half. But we will be back posting on Friday. All right. So now it's time to bring in our man. We call him Core, also Andrew Khoury. Follow him on Instagram at _Core, Core _ on Twitter because he wanted to just confuse everybody. What's going on, Shane? I mean, Core, how's it going, man?
Not much. What's going on?
Nothing much.
How's it
Welcome,
going? All right, so we're gonna get into your trivia questions. Obviously, Mets sellers, buyers, treading water in the next couple of weeks at the deadline. What do you think?
Both maybe. Like, I don't think anyone who thinks they're selling Scherzer, I have a bridge to sell you. They're not. Like, Cohen's not going to sell low on his best on someone he's paying $43 million. I don't have to pay another $43 million to next year to play for someone else. It's going to your best chance is to hold him and hope he pitches a little bit better. I would like them to sell off some parts. Maybe they sell a Canada, great. Maybe they sell an Omar Narvaez, that's cool, or Robertson. They're going to be marginal returns. It's not anything that's going to break the bank. You're buying lotto tickets at the end of the day. Maybe they go out and have the foresight. Maybe Bill Epler, for once in his life, has the foresight to say, I need to build a bullpen for next year, and goes to get a Giovanni Gallegos or a Kendall Graveman or something. I would like to see those moves. Other than that, stay put, spend money next year.
Yep, no, I'm right there with you, Core. Agree 100%.
It's been an attitude among many pundits, and obviously we're going to have a little bit of that later on tonight in our mock trades, but always love the feedback there, Core. Now, Core, we have 3 trivia questions from you today, and the theme is pitching. So let's get into your first trivia question. What we got?
Let's do it. So obviously Domingo Germán threw a perfect game, the 24th perfect game a couple weeks ago in June. 24th perfect game in MLB history. He was also the 3rd pitcher to do so that was born outside the United States. Who are the other 2 pitchers?
Felix Hernandez.
That is one.
Wasn't
All right, that's one point
Victor
for Tom.
Zambrano?
Nope.
Victor
I
Zambrano.
think he threw a no-hitter. Perfect games.
Was
All right,
it
Tom's got one.
Fernando Valenzuela?
Ooh.
Nope.
I don't think
He was born in Nicaragua.
Dennis Martinez?
Yeah, Dennis Martinez.
Yeah.
Longest career, 23 years.
Dennis Martinez.
Good for
Now,
Dennis.
is it Dennis who's brothers with Pedro Martinez, or is it a different Martinez I'm thinking of? I forget.
I don't know.
Pedro's from
We did-
Pedro, I think, is Dominican.
he
so
did
if
just say
Dennis Martinez
Nicaragua.
is Nicaraguan, I would say probably not.
Yeah, different Martinez.
Yeah, that's usually how that works, right? I think it's Ramon Martinez that I was thinking of. But Dennis Martinez is the correct answer. So up 1 for me, 1 for Tom. Court number 2. What we got?
Hold on, I lost the page. Since 1913, when earned runs were officially tracked by Major League Baseball, there have been exactly 1,639 pitchers who have logged at least 500 innings across 5 consecutive seasons. Among this list of pitchers, Clayton Kershaw and Jacob deGrom rank in the top 7 for best ERA in that 5-year stretch. Who are the top 5 pitchers above them to achieve the same feat?
I'm gonna say
Koufax.
Koufax is 1.
I'm gonna say Gibson.
Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson is not an answer.
I'm gonna say
Walter Johnson.
Corey, what was your
Walter
guess?
Johnson is an answer.
Bob Gibson.
Walter Johnson.
Christy Mathewson.
I
Incorrect.
think we lost Core. No, we got him.
Nice.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay. So far we have Walter Johnson and Koufax, right? So there's three
Correct.
more.
And you're looking for
Bob-
three others.
Bob Gibson.
Nope.
Bob
Give me-
Feller.
Give me Clemens.
Incorrect.
What about Tom Seaver?
Incorrect.
Give me Pedro.
Pedro
You are
Martinez.
in the right ballpark in the sense that two of the three left are Hall of Famers.
Pedro Martinez.
Incorrect.
Lefty
Nolan
Grove.
One guy
Nolan
has three
Ryan.
triple crowns.
Lefty
Nolan
Grove.
Ryan is incorrect.
Okay.
Lefty Grove is incorrect.
Greg Maddux.
Incorrect.
Running out of Hall of Fame pitchers here.
Who had the Walter Johnson guess? So I just had the scoring.
I did.
Joe. I had Koufax.
Got the code.
Let's
We still got three more.
see.
Cy Young.
One is a reliever. One is a reliever who was in the Hall of Fame.
Catfish Hunter.
Mariano Rivera.
No. Mm-mm.
Six.
Thinking 50s. He pitched from 1952 to 1972.
Well, this isn't that guy, but Guidry.
No.
No.
Hoyt Wilhelm.
What about
Wilhelm is the reliever. That's correct.
Let's
What about-
go.
what about Phil Niekro?
Incorrect.
Thinking of guys that have like crazy peaks.
What about
Crazy.
Greg
Yeah.
Maddux?
Maddox
Maddox,
was said
yeah.
incorrect.
Guess
No.
Maddux earlier.
You got one
Roger
Hall of Famer
Clemens.
left and one non-Hall of Famer left. The non-Hall of Famer won the World Series in 1917.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Non Hall of Fame.
17.
Who, Dizzy Dean.
No.
Tizzy Dean. All right.
So was it
Mordecai
Christy?
Three Fingers Brown.
No. You're better off going against the Hall of Famer.
Alexander.
Yes, Grover
Babe-
Alexander.
Yes, Grover Alexander.
Babe Ruth.
Grover Alexander.
Now, so one non-Hall of Famer left.
Yeah, this is the non-Hall of Famer.
Oh. Is a non-Hall of Famer the 1917 guy?
Yeah,
No, that's
he
Grover
pitched the
Alexander.
majority of his career for. No, sorry, the non-Hall of Famer is this 1917 player. He played the majority of his career with the White Sox.
Oh, I mean,
Eddie Cicotti.
Yeah. Yep, Eddie Cicotti.
Good job looking that up, Joe.
It's a great look up, Joe.
Baseball.
Fantastic.
You ready?
That was fantastic.
Eddie
I was about to
Cicotti.
get to the nicknames. I was going to be like Larry the Lower Intestine Johnson.
Cicotti is
Headless
one of the
Sports
white.
on him,
One of
like,
the
I
Black
was gonna start-
Sox.
Yeah, I'm sure, Joe. Sure,
He's
yeah.
one of the Black Sox. You ever see that
Sure,
movie?
we're in,
Eight Men Out?
sure, we're in Black Sox right now. Cheater.
Question number 3, Core. What do we got?
Last question. So back in June, Blake Snell struck out all 9 players in the starting lineup in consecutive starts. Since 1961, he became just the 4th pitcher in baseball to accomplish this feat. Who are the other 3 pitchers?
Nolan Ryan.
Incorrect.
Seaver.
No.
Pedro.
I will say all 3 of these guys have ties to New York baseball.
Pedro.
Pedro is one.
Yeah.
Robert
Doc
Clemens.
Gooden.
Incorrect. Both of them.
Tom Seaver.
I said that.
Incorrect.
Oh, you said it. My bad.
Struck out.
Oh,
Ties.
Guidry.
Incorrect.
No.
Jacob
Mm.
DeGrom.
DeGrom is one.
David
Last one.
Cohn.
Incorrect.
Oh, I hope.
Try and think of
This last player has a triple crown to his name.
Verlander.
Incorrect.
Max Scherzer.
Incorrect.
Wow.
Triple crown. Who the hell's got a triple crown to it?
Whitey
It's also,
Ford.
Is it
it's also won
Koufax?
multiple Cy Youngs.
Is it
Johan
Koufax?
Santana.
Incorrect.
Randy Johnson.
Correct.
Yep, there you go.
Ah.
The
Oh my
Kills you
god.
because he played the one season.
Yeah, but he pushed that like that camera guy, so he's very memorable.
I'm gonna have to figure out all that scoring. That was a lot.
So
but
I got
know
4 total.
Well, Joe has a big fat asterisk next to his name.
Got a lot there.
I
whatever the hell.
I cemented my last place for the year.
Eddie Cicotti, come on.
You can
watch
Cicotti
Ethan out. You know who he
Cicotti
is.
my ass. How about that, Joe?
He's not a Hall of Famer because he was suspended. He's on the restricted list.
Oh, you should be on the restricted list for this podcast.
Well, I probably lost
no
my
good
lead.
cheater.
I probably lost my lead. I'll have to do the scoring later. So thanks for that, Core. About like 8 answers in total. Good stuff, Core. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Take care, bud. All right. So that was a lot. I'm gonna have to do a lot of scoring there. That was insane. Like, name 3 pitchers, name 8 pitchers, name 5 pitchers.
Unless we start giving out like half points for questions like that.
Well, you're just gonna have to. I mean, we just have to do as many questions. You're gonna have to get on there, Mr. Producer.
I might have to figure it out. But it is what it is. Well, points go everywhere as long as you got a correct answer. So we'll figure that out later. On Twitter, though, we do have our live show. Correct there, Joe?
Yes, we do. So you can follow us on Twitter. We go live when we go live at 8:00 every Monday.
Go live when we go live. You heard that right.
Go live when we go live. So you can follow us on Twitter. We have 2,100 followers and growing. Follow ESB Podcast at ESB Podcast. Khoury at G Gory, myself at JR Pugs, Rich at Rich J Rivera, and Tom at T Wospil. All on Twitter. We're on it constantly, and we love talking Mets and Yankees baseball.
I don't know if we love it at this point.
That's what it's what we do. Do we love talking about it? I don't know. But I want to talk trades, and I love talking about mock trades. And if you tune into last year's trade deadline episode when we did this Yankees-Mets segment, it was a lot of fun. Got a lot of creative deals in there. I got scorched by Pittsburgh Pirates fans because I wanted Brian Reynolds for Oswald Peraza.
Oh, that was fun
last year.
That was fun.
Oh, this could be another year, boys, where we piss off more fans. Let's start in-house first. We got
how many A's trades does Joe have?
None, actually. A's have nothing to give anybody.
We're gonna find out shortly. We're actually gonna kick it off with Joe, and I'd like to start with the Mets deals that we kicked off. We'll go in the order of Joe, Tom, me, and then we'll throw it to Khoury. So Joe, what is your first Mets deal?
I gotta piss some people off here, but I have LA acquiring Tommy Pham, David Robertson, and Max Scherzer. The Mets getting back 3 prospects, one Gavin Stone, who's and Nick Frasso, both who have electric stuff, and Johnny DeLuca. In this trade, listen, I think this trade makes a lot of sense. The Mets, of course, would eat a lot of Max Scherzer's salary here, most of whatever remains on it outside the league minimum, and at least half of next year's option if Scherzer does pick it up. Robertson helps out in the bullpen, gives them another arm. They have a top-heavy bullpen with Buster Gatterall and the other guy whose name is escaping me. But 2 other guys in the bullpen have over a 5 ERA. Robertson fits in perfectly there. Pham gives them outfield depth, a left field option. He can DH a little bit and bring some right-handed power to that lineup. The Dodgers have kind of had moving parts in center and left field this year. So I think it makes a lot of sense. This improves the Dodgers tremendously, I think. And I think it's a realistic trade. Listen, the Dodgers have a lot of issues in the rotation right now. Kershaw is hurt. Buehler's out for pretty much the year. If he comes back at all, he'll only be a couple innings. Syndergaard's hurt. We don't know about him. Urias has not been the same pitcher. And they are familiar with Max Scherzer. So I think this is a good trade for both teams in this particular case.
Yeah, the Dodgers are beat up with pitching, too. Another name, Dustin May, another guy who's having a promising year, and all of a sudden he's hurt, too. So you look at that Dodgers staff, and it is a bit of a mess. Real quick, I want to reference Core Ryan because Core was just here in the chat, and he said you have a bridge to sell. So go connect with Core after the show because he's got a bridge for you, Joe. But as a Met fan, I would definitely like that type of deal.
You would.
Yeah, if you could get any value from some of these older guys, like a Scherzer, like a Verlander, I'd like to keep at least one of them next year, and you hope for the best. So I'm not opposed to trading one if you're going to eat money to get a high prospect. A guy like a Tommy Pham, like a David Robertson, these are the pieces that make the absolute most sense to sell off because he's a one-year deal, guys. And even you could bring him back next year if you really want to in free agency. So these are the type of guys that make a ton of sense to sell. You're not going to get much value for them individually. Robertson, you actually probably will get a decent prospect for. Pham, nice year for Pham, but you're not going to get a top 5 prospect for Tommy Pham. So as a Mets fan, I would love it. Do I think it happens? Probably not. But for both teams, it makes sense.
I think that's a pretty massive overpay by the Dodgers. I think, listen, I spoiler, have David Robertson also going to the Dodgers. So I do think I think the fit is good there, and I do think Tommy Pham's been having a good year, but I don't think teams are pounding down the Mets door to get Tommy Pham. And the Scherzer, I mean, yeah, I know you have him that the Mets are eating a lot of the money of it, but I don't know. He hasn't been great this year. And for the Dodgers to give up 2 top 100 prospects in baseball, I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't. Yeah. One, in general, I don't think any team is going to package these many guys. That would be, pretty remarkable trade just to pull off. And I don't think they have that amount of value tied to them at this point.
It's a tough one. And I honestly, it's a good deal. I mean, you look at the bottom here of the trade values, and you notice that for the Mets, they win this deal if we're going to base it off of Baseball Trade Simulator that has their own valuation, and that's what we based our BTVs off of. And listen, you're the selling team. You're going to win, and you should be able to win in every single trade here. Dodgers, Mets, you're pulling in 3 top 20 prospects for 2 players that are gone and 1 player that Met fans are on the precipice of having nothing to do with in Scherzer. I think this would be, if I'm a Met fan, I'm taking that deal. And they can use young, controllable pitching. Gavin Stone is a flamethrower, as Joe mentioned. I think this would be a great deal for the New York Mets to pull it off. I don't know if the Dodgers do this one. I mean,
I think the Dodgers say, forget my number.
A lot of older guys in that rotation, guys that are hurt. They're hoping that Walker Buehler might give him something, but Buehler might not even be a starting pitcher by the time he comes back. So it's a tough one. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, but as a Met fan, I take that deal in a heartbeat. Moving on. All right, Tom, you have a Met deal. What we got?
I do. I have some similar, at least similar teams in Robertson here. So I have David Robertson, also threw in Adam Ottavino, going to the Dodgers. Mets picking up Maddox Bruns and Ronan Kopp from the Dodgers organization. Khoury, I think, referenced it really well earlier. It's you're buying lottery tickets at this point. David Robertson has been very good. He is a true rental. He's not going to be the closer for your team, so you're not going to get closer money for him or closer prospect capital for him. So you get some guys, some lower A guys. I think one's double A, one's single A, and you see if some of these guys develop into anything. Ottavino, I also included him in there. I know he's been kind of up and down, but he's been a guy along with Robertson who has pitched in big cities before. He's not going to be worried with the Dodgers. The Dodgers also, of all the contending teams in baseball, have the worst bullpen ERA overall. So I do think they need depth there. Robertson's a guy who's going to be more of a leverage guy. And Ottavino, would you feel good about bringing Ottavino in if he's like your 6th inning guy? I think you'd feel pretty good about that as an organization. So I have the Mets trying to cash in some lottery tickets with the fertile Dodgers organization.
Yeah, maybe you guys or my fans or our fans here can help us out here. When was the last time you saw a trade deadline deal that involved 2 high leverage relievers going to the opposing team? It's a deal I feel like you never see happen here, Khoury.
True. And for the Dodgers, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, you're a team that's trying to win it all again, and you get in 2 great guys through your bullpen. Ottavino is going to be, like Tom said, like the 6th option in your bullpen. You're bringing a solid leading reliever in Robertson. And for Ottavino right now, listen, I would trade him for a nice 12-pack of Rawlings baseballs right out of the box. Robertson, I'd hope for a little more. Again, you're not going to get these top 5, 6 prospects. I'd like to get away like a number 8, a number 9 prospect for Robertson. He's having a very solid year. He's far from the reason we're losing. But, I mean, it's not a bad trade, and it is building the Mets' depth. I would like a little more value, but, again, it's not a bad trade because these guys do not have a contract for next season. Robertson, maybe you do look to bring back. Ottavino is worthless at this point.
And look behind the curtain. I originally just had Robertson for one of these guys, but then when I realized the Dodgers bullpen ERA is so bad, I thought they maybe would want to take on another guy. Ottavino has a year under control for next year as well, so that's why we had two prospects in there. But I think the Mets would be happy to move Robertson for either of these guys. Just again, get some depth into that organization to build for the future.
Are you taking this deal?
Yes.
I'm 50-50.
Yeah, I don't think either player is relevant to the Mets' future. I mean, as far as like Robertson and Ottavino,
neither is David Robertson.
No, that's why. No, that's what I mean.
Oh, I thought you meant the prospects.
No. Gotcha, Robertson
gotcha.
To me is gone next year, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And kind of piggybacking off what Tom here, and I looked at the Eduardo Escobar deal as a good example of a piece that is not going to help you out in the long-term future, but you can bring in a couple of arms for a needed guy off the bench. And now Escobar is probably going to get dealt at some point by the Angels. Maybe the team will take a chance at Escobar. It was weird that the Angels even made that trade.
Yeah.
But I kind of use that as the basis for this deal, although I included 2 extra players in the deal. We got the Reds acquiring Mark Canha and Carlos Carrasco. These 2 players are free agents at the end of the year. I don't see these 2 players staying with the Mets here. And for the Mets, they are going to get Levi Stout, who's the Reds' number 11th ranked prospect, another young arm out there. Joe Boyle, the Reds' 29th prospect. And Stuart Fairchild, who's been kicking it throughout the majors over the last couple of years. He's on their 40-man, so you get that 40-man swap of Fairchild and Stout for Canha and Carrasco, and Boyle will take a spot in the minor leagues. But Canha and Carrasco, now we've seen Canha as a name potentially tossed around in trade rumors, and I think it's not really much of a big bet to say that Canha is going to go within the next 2 weeks. You guys see Carlos Carrasco on the move in the next 2 weeks?
Who wants these guys?
I mean, listen. I think Canha's got value to a team.
He does.
Does he?
He's a good platoon / 4th outfielder off the bench. He can play 3 positions. He is worth something out there. He kind of reminds me when the Mets offloaded Curtis Granderson, that kind of guy that, can come in and play and give you professional at bats. Carrasco, I don't think anybody wants Carrasco at this point. I don't think anybody can take the risk on Carrasco being productive while in a pennant race. If somebody takes him, they take as a flyer to be a long-term mop-up guy. So as the Mets, I take this deal in a heartbeat.
Yes.
If I'm the Reds, I don't even touch this deal. Maybe I could see a mid-20s prospect for a guy like Canha.
They seem like kind of player to be named later trades.
Yeah.
Those at least Canha. Carrasco, I agree. Maybe not even that.
Yeah. Carrasco, again, he's in that 12-pack of Rawlings conversation. But Canha does have value. I mean, he's a guy in a pinch. Again, he's not a third baseman by any means. Don't get me wrong. But in a pinch, it's not bad to have him as your 4th or 5th guy on the bench. Could play a ton of positions. He seems like a good clubhouse guy. I mean, listen, I never met the guy, but he seems like a good clubhouse guy for the team. So I think there's value there. And again, these are both pieces I have no issue selling off. I do think Canha has value to a playoff team. I just don't know about Carrasco. But as a Met fan, I'm all in on that trade.
Cincinnati Reds in the behind the scenes of my deal. The Reds' 5th starter right now. Can anybody name the Reds' 5th starter right now? Anybody? That's my point, because they could use a veteran pitcher in the mix of that current rotation. It's Luke Weaver, by the way. Okay. They do have a couple.
So they have a veteran guy in the mix there.
Luke Weaver has done absolutely nothing.
Journey,
Mark Canha, he's a right-handed complement at first base to Joey Votto, the lefty, an older player. Canha could also play the corners. They don't really have a deep bench out in Cincinnati. So that was my framework there, the deal. Maybe the number 11th ranked prospect might have been a little too much there for Levi Stout, but I think there's definitely a deal that could happen there.
Reds fans coming for you.
The Red fans are coming for him. We'll see what happens. Khoury has an interesting one. Khoury, what's your deal?
All right, so we have a crosstown deal. I figured, you know what? We're a Met Yankee show. Let's try to do a Met Yankee trade. It's an
Saves you
interesting,
time.
yeah, and it's an interesting trade because I think in a lot of reasons it makes sense for both teams. First and foremost, you look at the 40-man. Florial was the only non-40-man player on this trade, so it is an even 2-for-2 40-man swap. Yankees getting the best current player in the deal, and Tommy Pham gives them a little bit of offense in the outfield. A position of need. And Tommy Pham having a solid year for the Mets. You're not going to get a top prospect out of him, but he's having a nice year and would be a nice complementary piece in that Yankee lineup, hopefully with Judge in it too. Tyler McGill, Deivi Garcia, I mean, these are purely change of scenery and see what happens. Tyler McGill, I feel like got a great first impression because he had a solid 2 months to start his career in 2021, including that combined no-hitter in 2021. Ever since then, not that great. Deivi Garcia, one of the top prospects in baseball, clearly did not live up to that hype at this moment. So Johnny Brito and McGill kind of swap out. Florial is a guy, you put him in the Mets lineup right now, probably a platoon left fielder with Canna and Florial out there in left field. Maybe long-term, he's a fourth outfield guy for the Mets. But Tommy Pham right now, listen, you want to do a Yankee trade. We're talking about it before. And none of us really think they're going to go out there and make that big blockbuster deal nor sell off. So a guy like Tommy Pham, again, doesn't move the needle much if Judge isn't there. If Judge isn't there, this team is in trouble. But Tommy Pham with Judge there does give you a little bit of boost, and it has zero impact on next year's offseason, this upcoming offseason, because there's no salary on the books for next year. You're not trading a top 5 prospect. So it's a trade, again, doesn't really move the needle much for both teams, but it makes sense for both teams.
I mean, it does address a big need for the Yankees, which is someone who is capable of playing left field, because currently the Yankees are running out non-left fielders or non-outfielders to play left field. So I could see the Yankees being interested in that. I don't know if the Mets would be as interested in this deal. Florial is a guy who got DFA'd this year. The Yankees brought him back. That's why he's on the 40-man roster, because he went through waivers. He's been killing it in AAA, but he's killed it in AAA before, and he gets to the majors and he can't hit a curveball. Davy's interesting. Davy is a guy who Yankee fans are real excited about for a while, and then just kind of went away. He was hurt, I think, and now he's been back better in the minors. Had a cup of coffee with the Yankees this year, so I could see the Mets having some interest in there on a flyer. The same with Brito. So I don't know. I think this actually could be a plausible trade. I just think the Mets might be able to get something a little better as a prospect for Pham, a more down the road prospect where a guy like Davy and Brito could help the Mets next year. So it depends what the Mets want, I guess.
I agree, Tom. And I actually wouldn't do the deal at all as a Yankee fan. And it to me, I just don't think Tommy Pham is really moving the needle. You look at the lineup projection here. Again, you're adding another right-handed hitter in an overly right-handed lineup. I almost rather take the chance on the left-handed hitting Florial, especially since he's killing it in AAA. I'd almost rather go down that route than trade him for towards a deal.
I guess, but we know Florial can't hit in the majors. Not that good. Florial can't hit. He can't hit.
The Yankees have done more to devalue Florial's value than any team.
I mean, Florial's done enough to devalue his own value. He's been up in the majors multiple times and he doesn't hit.
But another right-handed hitter in this lineup.
He can play. He can play the outfield. Listen,
difference is
I'm pro any trade that the Yankees get an outfielder, an actual outfielder, because IKF is doing his best out there, and Oswaldo is doing his best out there, and Jake Bauers when he was out there. These guys aren't outfielders. And Bill McKinney, his sparkle is gone. He's an outfielder, but it's done. So. It gets the Yankees an outfielder. I don't know how much Davy and Brito really do factor into the Yankees' future. So I do think it's an interesting trade put together by Khoury here.
Joe, would you do the deal as a Met fan?
I think going forward, McGill has more potential than Brito and Garcia, which is the only reason I would not do it, because I've seen McGill pitch well. I don't have that much confidence in him, but Garcia can't stay healthy at all. I don't think that's ever going to be solved. And Brito, I think, is kind of going to be this fifth starter / mop-up guy for most of his career, and there's utility in that. But for me, I'd rather hang on to McGill. I see why the Yankees could use Pham. I would be all in if you said Pham for Florial swap, just straight up. I think that would be a good benefit to both teams. The Mets can play Florial for the rest of the year.
I don't think the Mets could have had Florial for less than a 12 pack of Rawlings 6 weeks ago.
He doesn't look at AAA numbers and thinks it's actually.
He's done it before. It doesn't matter.
The Yankees clearly don't value him. He's clearly not worth much to the Yankees because he's not on the 40-man. And the Yankees have had more injuries and more turnover in their outfield than any other team in baseball this year. And Florial still has not cracked the roster. That's why Florial's not worth anything.
All right, well, Khoury, I'm gonna give you props because this trade is the perfect transition point from the Mets deals to the New York Yankee deals. So we're gonna move on to the straight up Yankee deals here for the rest of the way. And Joe has got a big one for the Yanks.
Yeah, so I have the Yankees acquiring Cody Bellinger and Drew Smyly from the Cubs. In return, they would give Everson Pereira, Luis Gil, and Matt Sauer to the Cubs. In this case, the Yankees acquire a bat in Cody Bellinger that fits perfectly into that outfield, perfectly into that stadium. He is not the MVP Cody Bellinger, but you're not paying him to be the MVP Cody Bellinger. You're paying for a left-handed bat that can play all three outfield positions. Smyly is a okay starting pitcher. He's going to go out there. He's going to pitch innings. He's under control for the next 2 years, actually, if you want to pick up both of his options. I think he's got a player option next year and a club option for the year after. I think he brings some stability to the back end of the rotation, which the Yankees desperately need. I think Bellinger is a perfect fit for the Yankees lineup, and he won't cost an arm and a leg, unlike a guy like Soto, who will cost you multiple top 10 prospects. Bellinger and Smyly only cost you one.
I think the Cubs are going to get more for Bellinger than that. As the Yankee fan,
I think he's going to get more?
I really do. I think Bellinger is probably the best bat that's going to move at the deadline. I mean, name a better bat that is. I mean, we're going to talk about Soto. We'll talk about Ohtani, but who knows if these guys are going to get traded. Bellinger is the best one out there, and he's having a really good year. I don't know if the Yankees
just a rental.
He is just a rental. I agree, and again, I agree with all that. I think the Cubs are going to get more for him than what now. If the Cubs are trying to like move on from Smyly as well, and that's just kind of like you're doing that. I don't know what his exact contract situation is. If they're trying to like shed some money there, they're like, okay, I can see a little bit more of it. Bellinger is like the fit that like all Yankee fans are kind of looking at that seems to make sense. So I'd be very for this. I also do love, and I think Pereira's in my trade as well, but Everson Pereira, whenever like Yankee fans talk about, hey, let's trade a top prospect, it's like, well, we don't want to trade Dominguez or Wells or Volpe or Peraza, but Everson Pereira, we would. Right, he's the one that it's just like he's the poor sacrificial lamb. And Yankee Twitter for you want a top prospect. You here's your Pereira. This is what you get.
And Pereira could be a very good player in this league. I actually would do this deal. For Cody Bellinger. I'm with Joe. I think he's a perfect fit for the Yankees. It is unfortunate because he is a 2-month rental, and you've seen over the last few years the Yankees try to stay away from that deal. Benintendi might have been like the only case of the last few trade deadlines where the Yankees acquired a pure rental player. They like to try to get a player that does have control. But I do it. I think Bellinger's a perfect fit for the Yankees. Yeah. It would be a nice little transition point to have Bellinger in there. He is a free agent at the end of the year. You know who else is a free agent at the end of the year? Harrison Bader. This could be a possibility where Bellinger's playing this corner, and the Yankees could go with whoever they feel the better option between Bellinger and Bader in the offseason to play center field. It's a possibility.
I would the big caveat I would say to that is Bellinger seems to be like the most West Coast guys of West Coast guys, and I don't think there is a snowball's chance.
Chicago's not really a West Coast guy.
He's there. He's there because he had to go to Chicago because no one else wanted him. If coming off a good year, I think he is going west. He's going to a Western team. He's a a California vibe kind of guy. I don't see him wanting to be in New York long term. His dad played here. I could see him wanting to come here and do the 2-month. Hey, I was a Yankee. Wasn't that awesome? But I don't think Bellinger is signing east of the Mississippi. I don't think he's signing east of the Central Time Zone.
That lineup looks good though with him in that 3 spot.
I agree. Yeah, love it. Very pro this trade. That's the only kind of point I would have.
I mean, I think Bellinger's retainable. I mean, I think he understands his role right now. Is he's trying to rebuild his career mid-year. I think the Yankees could get him on a 4-year, $18, $19, $20 million contract. I think he would stay put. I don't know if he's going to get a 5 or a 7-year deal worth, $250 million from anybody, because I don't think they want to take the risk. I think Bellinger sets up because that ballpark is tailor-made for a guy like his swing. So I think if the Yankees get him there, if he runs into a couple of short porch home runs, I think he's going to fall in love with the idea of, hey, this is a great spot for me to play for the next 4 years because this place is made for my swing.
I don't think he cares. I think Bellinger is and this isn't an actual replacement, but he's a replacement for Ohtani in Anaheim.
Well, I got a hot take on Bellinger. I think Bellinger is going to be the best offensive player that moves to the trade deadline. That is my hot take. All righty. So let's dream scenario, right, Tom? Because we got 2 more deals left, and they are the 2 biggest ones of the night. Thomas, who are the Yankees acquiring?
Well, in this trade, I have the Yankees acquiring Juan Soto and bringing back good friend Matt Carpenter to the fold here. In this trade, Soto's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost you your Jason Dominguez. Again, here's our Everson Pereira, Yankees favorite, Yankees Twitter favorite guy to trade. I have thrown Austin Wells in there, but frankly, it's a bit of like, hey, San Diego, what do you want? Do you want a Peraza? Do you want a Trey Sweeney? Do you want which of these top? Basically, you take 3 of the top 5 you want, and that's what the Yankees would be offering for a Juan Soto who is signed through next year. Now, the main reason why I think the Padres have to consider trading Soto is the Padres have extended a lot of money to a lot of guys recently. And I don't think they will be able to sign him after the end of next year. So if they're not going to be able to do that, they might as well capitalize and get as much as they can in return. So to kind of like do that, I was looking at what did it cost to get Soto last year to give him 2.5 years of control. It cost him Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, Robert Hassel, James Wood, and Jarlin Susana. And Luke Ford. All top guys. These are all top 100 prospect guys. I think a year, you get him for a 1 year less, you get 3 top 100 prospect guys, which I don't actually know if Pereira is a top 100 prospect guy, but I think he's probably close to it. Dominguez and Wells definitely are.
It's an interesting trade. I mean, this is a huge trade. And we were talking about Soto earlier in the show a little bit, too, for the Yankees. I would say from a Padres standpoint, I actually like this trade from a Padres standpoint a lot. I mean, to Tom's point earlier, they have a lot of money on the books, the Padres, and Soto is going to get a ton of money in the following offseason. So from a Padres standpoint, I really like it. You're getting some good pieces there. And from a Yankee standpoint, again, if Judge comes back, and now you have Soto in that lineup as well, all of a sudden, this is a team that's going to be a scary lineup. It's going to be a scary lineup come playoff time. If you have a healthy Judge, Soto, and a healthy Stanton all in the middle of that lineup, and that's the type of move that's really going to make the Yankee fans pumped, and it's going to be a fun offseason, or fun playoff season, I should say, for the New York Yankees if they do that trade.
Yeah, the only thing I would do differently in this trade as a Padres is I need one of the 2 shortstops in that trade. And I
didn't put one in, but
I need either Peraza or Volpe, and that would be like my serious consideration.
The 3 that are already going in the deal.
Yeah, because to me,
I could see that.
No. I would say instead of Wells in particular, but that's just my preference. I need a young, controllable infielder. They've had like 3 catchers come up in the past few years. They've cycled through. several times. So
is their number 2 overall prospect. He's the catcher. Jackson Merrill is their number 1 prospect. He's a shortstop.
Yes, but I'd rather have I can do more with the young, controllable infielder, in my mind, than the catcher. So that I would make that a must. I need one of the two of Peraza and Volpe.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think to say Peraza and Volpe and complementary to the 3 is kind of crazy. I actually see another 40-man player. So if it is Peraza, that would make sense because you have, when we talk about the trades, there's got to be some kind of roster balance so players aren't getting DFA'd for free, right? We talked about this last year on the show at length. You could see potentially one of those controllable players, young players the Yankees have, could be a pitcher go back in the deal. I mean, I'm just trying to just spitball, say like Domingo Germán or whatever. One of those players would have to go back just to even up the deal. And give the Padres more reason to do a deal like this. Matty Carpenter coming back, though. I like that. I thought he was the centerpiece of this deal when I first saw it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's been struggling out there in San Diego, but the Yankees are, if they need to pinch hit people, they have a bunch of jokes that are pinch hitters. You get a lefty pinch hitter, a guy who pinch hit for the catchers, pinch hit for an IKF. Maybe bring the magic back. So let's bring back Matt Carpenter. He seemed to like it here.
Yeah, I have to, of course, go with the Shohei Ohtani blockbuster. And let me preface this by saying the Yankees are not getting Shohei Ohtani, nor do I think they should get Ohtani for the reasons I specified earlier today. But because I'm in the game to get likes and hits on Twitter and to get people pissed off at me, I think there was a lot more fun to put in a Shohei Ohtani deal than like a middle of the pack tread water deal, which I originally thought of. So thank my co-host for this. But this is my Shohei Ohtani attempt. And this is the framework for it. What I have, you got to send your number 1 prospect in the deal. It is Jason Dominguez. He's got to go. I'm skipping down to Drew Thorpe and Will Warren. And even though they're the number 6 and 7 prospects of the Yankees, they are the number 1 and 2 pitching prospects on the Yankees, respectively. And you can swap those out. The Angels feel that there's 2 better pitchers in the Yankees organization that they would want, if that is Chase Hampton or Clayton Beeter or Randy Vasquez or Luis Hill, whoever the 2 they deem are their best chance at giving Ohtani to the Yanks, take them. We also have 2 40-man guys going. Oswald Peraza is going in the deal. But again, this could be a Peraza or Volpe. Peraza's AAA numbers are right there. He's had a solid season in AAA. He just recently got the call back up to the majors. Better glove between him and Volpe. Angels could have interest in that, or they could go with the more talented Volpe. It's really one or the other. I have Peraza in the deal for the 40-man swap. Clark Schmidt, the young controllable pitcher's got 4 more years left. And although the numbers don't show it, over the last month, Clark Schmidt has been the second best Yankees pitcher in the rotation. He's really made some good strides out there, and he would plug right into the Angels rotation, and they would give the Angels some control. Of course, Ohtani's coming back, and also got Matt Moore in there for funsies. Left-handed reliever is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, towards the twilight of his career. And when you look at this deal, you wonder, oh man, what is this lineup going to look like if Judge is healthy? And that's what you have right there. Ohtani's probably going to be right in that 2 spot, maybe 3 spot. I like the idea of him being ahead of Judge. But again, as I talked about earlier, if Judge is not healthy, again, you have the same Yankees team that run into the same issues where you're reliant on one offensive player to do the job. So I just don't think it happens. And of course, you could take a gander at the pitching rotation and imagine what a 5 could be when everyone is healthy.
Frankie Montas hanging out there.
Well, Frankie Montas is a question mark right here. We got him a question mark. But we look at this deal, Thomas. Are we in the ballpark of what we would think a framework would be for Ohtani?
Who the hell knows? I think, and I say that and I'm not trying to be disparaging with that, but the Angels, I think it can lead to the bigger conversation of, are the Angels going to trade Ohtani? I think we all agreed they should. We know he's not going to resign there, right? So if you let him walk, you get a comp pick for him.
Yes.
Yeah. Rich and I were talking off air, listen, are you going to lose some attendance with Ohtani being traded? Maybe, but a lot of those tickets are already sold. So how much walk-up business are the Angels getting? I can't imagine it's that much. So the Angels have to move them.
That ballpark, let me tell you something. They trade, well, here's the thing. From the Angels' perspective, you trade Ohtani, and you basically you've waved the white flag. Trout, there's no reason for Trout to come back at all this year. That ballpark is going to be a ghost town. And I mean a ghost town. They will rival the A's because especially in LA and California, there are much better things to do than watch a Troutless, Ohtani-less Angels.
But if I'm an Angels fan, and I would love to, and I don't think we have any Angels fans in the chat, but if I'm an Angels fan, I want to move him because he's not going to resign.
Yep.
Like I would be excited to get
some
some young guys in to build up. It's
I
don't know if they were going to trade him though.
They should absolutely 100% trade him. That is the right baseball move. That is the right everything. There is nothing that tells you except for the fact that Art Moreno does not want to be the guy that trades Shohei Ohtani. The guy that traded Babe Ruth still has egg on his face.
But you're not trading 3 years of Shohei Ohtani. You're trading a depreciating asset of Shohei Ohtani who you know you're not going to have next year. I don't know. I think it's really interesting.
Angels fans that do not want Ohtani traded by August the 1st are not baseball fans.
Correct.
I think, Rich, I think to your initial question, I think this is a framework for any team that the Angels should consider an offer. You're getting, hey, your top prospect, you're getting another top 5 prospect, and then you're getting your top, and then you're getting 3 more top 10s. I think that is more than a fair deal for a true rental who is not going to re-sign in the season. Now, if there was some sort of agreement that could be made that Ohtani will sign before, he'll still get traded and sign, then listen, Angels, you can take the top 20 prospects from the Yankees and to eliminate the possibility of him leaving, and you're getting him without the actual free agency. I would trade our top 10 prospects in a heartbeat for Ohtani, but that's not going to happen.
The Players Association will not allow him to sign. That's
so
before the offseason. There is no anything that's ever going to change that, because the numbers that are being rumored are so astronomical. The Players Association would step in and refuse to let anybody ever sign that deal. So the reason the Yankees bring Ohtani in is to say to Ohtani, you got 2 months to find out what being the biggest star in the biggest city for the biggest team in the country or in the world, if you ask some people, you got 2 months to see what that's like. And for the Yankees, the selling point is, listen, you are the biggest star in the sport. We can make you the biggest star in the world, on the planet, if you stay here. That's the difference.
And I'll tell you what, I have a team, and it is another AL East team that might make a little sense. Again, I don't think the Angels end up dealing him because they're going to ask for too much, as they should, and I don't think any team is going to stomach the cost, as they shouldn't, because he's going to go to free agency in just a few months. You're going to kill your farm system. But what about a team that doesn't matter what they do? They're constantly pumping out these guys and these prospects and these guys who come out of nowhere. What about the Tampa Bay Rays? If you really want to make a statement, because you are not bringing him in the offseason. You know that for a fact. All right? You want to make a statement and try to win? What about the Rays? Make a big trade?
I think Ohtani, we're obviously doing Yankees and Mets trade, so we're going to try to get Ohtani to the Yankees or the Mets. I don't think it makes sense for the Yankees to go out and get Ohtani, because I don't think as we talk about it doesn't matter for this year. This team is not a World Series team, and Ohtani doesn't make them that. I think for a team like the Rays, I think for your perennial, your Dodgers, a team like the Diamondbacks,
the Baltimore Orioles.
Birdland would go nuts for Ohtani.
Jackson Holiday in the deal going.
They have plenty of prospect capital.
That would be. Listen, he might hit it over the warehouse. The warehouse.
Listen, it might
be over Utah.
It would be a disgrace to see Ohtani have to go play baseball in the Trop, even if it's only for 2 months.
He might hit a ball that demolishes it. He might hit a ball that goes through it and then it just collapses. Hopefully, everyone's safe.
Kills everybody.
Well, I mean, the 14 Rays fans that are there might be lost, but I guess Wander Franco can.
If the Rays can't pack out that stadium for Ohtani for 2 months for a first place team, that team needs to move tomorrow. I mean, that's whoever gets Ohtani sells out their whatever home games they ever made in, whatever 30 home games they ever made in. That stadium sold out, no matter where it is.
So
Oakland will sell out.
Around the horn, do we think Ohtani gets traded by the deadline?
No.
No.
I don't think so either.
No. No.
God, the Angels are so
I
stupid.
think we're gonna have a selfish, greedy owner who thinks it's better to just fill seats as best he can for the next 2 months and sell off the fact that Ohtani's in his twilight with the Angels and he's gonna draw a house because fans are gonna come to see him. It's just a selfish way to run your ball club.
I'll be honest. The Angels should also try to trade Trout in the offseason. Now, what is he worth? Who knows? Because he's been injured so much recently.
Where's he going to go with all that money, dude? Who's going to take that contract?
Mets. Yankees. Yankees or the Mets would take it.
The Mets
we'll get into off-season mocks down the line. But again, maybe Angels fans will come after me on Twitter, but this is somewhat of a framework.
If they're not serious fans, like you said.
So we'll see when we get there. Alrighty, we're gonna put a bow on today's show. Before we do that, let's just do a quick rundown of stuff. Make sure to download Twitch and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. Check out our live stream there as you can on YouTube. We're also live streaming on YouTube. We have all our archived episodes on YouTube and all our short clips that we show up on Instagram on the Reels. They are shorts on YouTube, so go check that out. And then next week, Monday, we are back for episode number 54. Monday, 8 p.m., Monday, July 24th, and you don't want to miss it. And Joe has the reason why. Take it away, Joe.
We have a very special guest coming on next weekend. The New York Mets play-by-play broadcaster for WCBS 880, Pat McCarthy. He does a great job. He's there with Howie Rose and the boys up for the Mets radio team. And he's going to be with us. We're going to have a ton of questions from him. He's been traveling with the team. He's going to have great insights heading into the trade deadline on what makes this team tick. We'll ask him about that. We'll ask him about his journey to becoming a radio broadcaster. And not to mention, his father happens to be a Hall of Fame play-by-play announcer himself for the Philadelphia Phillies as well. So we might ask him a little bit about that as well. But he'll be on next week. That's the 24th of July. So don't miss that episode.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a fun one.
Come out for that episode. Tell all your friends about it. Tell them all the great ways to subscribe and follow us because it is going to be a big one, especially for our Met fans out there who listen in on WCBS 880. Pat McCarthy does a great job with the other announcers that are on the Mets radio network. So great to have Pat on next week. But until then, I think it's time to shoot our thank yous around right there, Khoury.
Oh, yes, we got to shoot some thank yous around. I want to thank all of you guys. I want to thank Core for bringing the Core curriculum here, too. But I want to thank Pat. I know I'm doing the thank you a week early, but it's going to be a fun show next week. Definitely looking forward to it. But, Joe, who do you got to thank on this fine evening?
I thank you to Pat for coming on next week. So we'll see him then. And listen, I'm hoping I can thank Billy Epler for a job well done this trade deadline. But I don't know.
Fingers crossed. Thomas.
I like to thank this episode being over because I'm hot and I want to get some more water.
And Mr. Rich.
Well, Tom, you can go quench your thirst. We'll send you guys to next week. Happy to have Pat McCarthy on the show. Excited to talk to him. And thank you all for staying with us for another 18 minutes plus on the broadcast. We'll see you here next Monday. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and more. Take care.